Ambassador Chen sat in the Galactic Council chamber and listened to the insults. Again. The chamber was a massive circular room that floated in space, surrounded by stars. Representatives from 40 different species sat in their designated pods, watching the center stage where the Krynith War Prince stood. "The humans are cowards," Zalthor announced, his forearms spread wide. His scales gleamed purple under the lights. "They hide behind words while real warriors take action." Chen did not move. Her face remained calm, almost bored. She had heard this speech before, many times. 200 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. In that time, they had built a reputation. The humans were mediators, peacekeepers, the species you called when a war needed to stop. They negotiated treaties that lasted centuries. They found compromises that saved billions of lives. But the Kryneth Empire did not respect compromise. Talara, the Vess representative, shifted her feathered body uncomfortably in her pod. She had watched the humans for decades. Something about them disturbed her, though she could not explain why. They were always so calm. Too calm. 3 weeks ago, Zalthor continued, Kryneth forces boarded a human colony ship. We took supplies that were rightfully ours by the law of strength. The humans did nothing. They filed a complaint. A complaint! He laughed, and several other representatives joined him. Chen finally stood. She was small compared to most species in the chamber. Humans usually were, but when she spoke, her voice carried clearly. "We acknowledge the incident," she said. "We request the Council review the evidence and help us reach a peaceful resolution." "Peaceful resolution," Zalthor mocked. "You always say the same thing. How many times will you beg for peace before you understand? The strong take what they want. The weak file complaints," Chen smiled. It was a small smile, polite and diplomatic. "We simply believe in following proper procedures." The session ended as it always did. The Council would review the evidence. They would debate for weeks. Eventually, they would issue a statement condemning the violence but taking no real action. The Kryneth would ignore it, and the humans would return to their seats, patient and quiet. In her private office later that day, Chen opened her personal terminal. She accessed a file that only a few dozen humans in the entire galaxy could see. The file name was simple: accounting. She added the new incident. Colony ship Aurora, 3,000 civilians dead, 2,000 tons of medical supplies stolen. She included video evidence, DNA records, communication logs, and tactical data about the Kryneth ships involved. The file was now very large. 30 years of data, 47 separate incidents, 89,000 human deaths. Chen's assistant, Marcus, entered the office. He was young, only 30 years old, too young to remember the early days. "Ambassador, the families of the Aurora victims are asking when we will respond." "Tell them we are documenting everything," Chen said. "Tell them we remember." Marcus hesitated. "Ma'am, some of them are angry. They want action, not paperwork." Chen looked up at him. For just a moment, her diplomatic mask slipped. Marcus saw something in her eyes that made him step back. Something cold and patient and absolutely certain. "Marcus, do you know how long humans have been keeping written records?" "No, ma'am. Over 5,000 years. We write things down. We remember. We pass those memories to our children, and they pass them to theirs. Do you know what that means? That we have good historians? It means we never forget." Chen turned back to her terminal. "Every species in this galaxy thinks forgetting is mercy. They have short memories. A crime from 50 years ago might as well have never happened to them. But humans? We remember what happened 500 years ago like it was yesterday. We hold grudges that outlive civilizations." She pulled up another file. This one showed the current location of every human ship in the galaxy. There were thousands of them. Cargo ships, science vessels, colony transports, all moving through space on their regular routes. But Marcus, looking over her shoulder, noticed something strange. The routes were changing. Slowly, over months and years, human ships had been repositioning. They formed a pattern around Kryneth space. Not obvious, not threatening. But there, we've been preparing, Marcus realized. For 30 years, Chen confirmed. Every insult, every attack, every death. We documented it all. We studied them. We learned their weaknesses. We positioned our assets. We built our case. And most importantly, we waited. Waited for what? For them to cross the line so far that even the Council could not question our response. For them to become so confident in our weakness that they would not see us coming. For the exact right moment when we could end this permanently. Chen closed the files. Tell the families we will not let their loved ones be forgotten. Tell them we are keeping accounts. And tell them that one day, very soon, those accounts will be balanced. Marcus left, his mind spinning. He had always thought humanity's diplomatic approach was about kindness, about being better than the warrior races who solved everything with violence. He was beginning to realize he had been wrong. Humanity was not kind. They were patient, and there was a very big difference between those two things. In the council chamber, maintenance drones cleaned the space after the day's session. They did not notice the small human device attached under the Krenith War Prince's podium. They did not see the nearly invisible cameras now recording every conversation in the chamber. The humans were always so helpful with technology repairs, so eager to maintain the council's equipment. No one questioned it anymore. No one suspected that the peacekeepers were preparing for war. Ambassador Chen stood at her window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Captain Sarah Okonkwo commanded the human defense fleet. Somewhere, human engineers were building weapons the galaxy had never seen. Somewhere, human soldiers were training for a war that had not yet been declared. Chen opened a communication channel. It was encrypted with codes that would take the galaxy's best computers 1,000 years to break. "Status?" she asked. Captain Okonkwo's voice came back immediately. 87% ready. All pieces in position, waiting for your word. "Not yet," Chen said. "Let them have one more incident. Let them think we will never act. Let them become absolutely certain of our weakness, and then we show them what patient killers look like when they finally stop being patient." Chen ended the call. She made a note in her personal log, one that would be read by historians centuries from now. Day 10, 957 of the accounting. The Krenith do not yet understand what they have created. By teaching us that we cannot rely on the galaxy for justice, they have taught us to rely on ourselves. They will regret that lesson. She returned to her desk and continued her work. There were treaties to review, meetings to schedule, and peace talks to plan. Ambassador Chen smiled her diplomatic smile, and she waited. Talara could not stop thinking about the humans. As a xenopsychologist for the Galactic Council, it was her job to understand how different species thought. She had studied the aggressive Krenith and understood their warrior culture. She had analyzed the peaceful Vess and knew why her own people avoided conflict. She had even made sense of the strange collective minds that thought as one being. But humans confused her. She sat in her research office, surrounded by holographic displays. Each one showed data about human behavior over the past 30 years. The numbers did not make sense. "Computer, show me all recorded incidents between humans and Krenith." The display changed. 47 separate events appeared, each one marked with dates, locations, and casualty numbers. Incident 1. Krenith raiders attacked a human mining station. 15 dead. Human response, diplomatic protest incident. 10. Krenith warships destroyed a human cargo vessel. 400 dead. Human response, requested council mediation. Incident 23. Krenith forces occupied a human colony for 3 weeks. 2,000 civilians killed. Human response, economic sanctions, and another diplomatic protest. Talara's feathers ruffled in agitation. Any other species would have declared war by Incident 3, maybe 4, but the humans kept negotiating. They kept talking. They kept filing reports and requesting meetings and suggesting compromises. "They look weak," Talara muttered, "but they cannot be weak. No species joins the Galactic Council without being strong." She pulled up human history files. Humanity had not always been in space. Like all species, they had evolved on a single world, but their history was different from most others. Talara read about human wars. There had been so many. Thousands of years of conflict. Humans fighting humans over land, resources, ideas, and pride. But what disturbed her was not the violence. It was the duration, the 100 Years' War. Actually, 116 years. The Crusades, 200 years of religious conflict. The Cold War. 45 years of preparation for a battle that never happened. They fight wars that last longer than most species exist, Talara realized. They are patient. She decided to interview humans directly. Over the next month, she traveled to human colonies, military bases, and diplomatic stations. She asked the same question to everyone. Why do you not fight back against the Kryneth? A human colonist named Maria answered first. She had survived a Kryneth raid that killed her husband. We're keeping records, she said simply. A human soldier named James gave the same answer. We remember everything. Every name. Every death. We're documenting it all. A human diplomat named Park said something that chilled Talara's blood. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Do you know that phrase? It's very old. Very human. Talara did not understand the metaphor, so she researched it. The meaning became clear. Revenge was better when you waited. When you planned. When the enemy forgot to be afraid. She dug deeper into human culture. She found they had an obsession with record-keeping. They wrote everything down. They preserved everything. They had museums dedicated to events that happened thousands of years ago. They taught their children about wars that ended before their great-grandparents were born. They do not forget, Talara said to herself. Other species move on. Time heals wounds. But humans, they pass their pain to the next generation like an inheritance. She found more disturbing evidence. Human colonies near Kryneth space were growing. Not shrinking, as one would expect if they were afraid. Growing. And the humans moving there were not refugees or poor families seeking opportunity. They were engineers, scientists, military veterans. Talara accessed shipping records. Human cargo ships traveled through Kryneth territory constantly. The Kryneth allowed it because humans paid taxes and caused no trouble. But Talara noticed the ships took strange routes. They passed near every major Kryneth military base. They lingered near Kryneth government worlds. They mapped everything. Oh no, Talara whispered. They are not being peaceful. They are preparing. She tried to warn the council. She requested an emergency meeting and presented her findings. The council chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy. The humans are not as passive as they appear, Talara announced. I believe they are planning something. Planning what? Asked the Mern representative, his blob-like body pulsing with confusion. They have endured 47 attacks without retaliation. They are clearly not warriors. That is what disturbs me, Talara insisted. No species accepts that much abuse without reason. Either they are incapable of fighting, or they are choosing not to fight. And humans are definitely capable. The Kryneth War Prince Zalthor laughed from his podium. The Birdwoman sees conspiracy and peace. Perhaps your species is too paranoid, Talara. The humans are weak. They hide behind the council because they cannot defend themselves. I do not think they are hiding, Talara said. I think they are watching, learning, waiting. For what? Talara did not have an answer. The council dismissed her concerns. Most representatives agreed with Zalthor. The humans were peacekeepers, mediators. They lacked the warrior spirit needed for real conflict. Talara returned to her office, frustrated. She pulled up more human history. She focused on military history this time. She wanted to understand how humans fought when they did fight. What she found terrified her. Humans did not fight like other species. Most warrior races fought for honor or territory or resources. They fought until one side surrendered, then they stopped. But humans fought to completely destroy their enemies. They called it total war. She read about something called the Siege of Leningrad. Human armies surrounded a human city for 900 days. Nearly 1 million civilians died, but the city never surrendered. And the humans inside never forgot who caused their suffering. She read about the atomic bombs. Humans had built weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. They had used them. Twice. And then they had spent decades building more, not to use, but to make sure no one ever attacked them again. They are persistence hunters, Talara realized. She had learned about Earth's ecosystem in her research. Humans had evolved from predators who hunted by never giving up. They chased their prey for hours or days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They did not need to be faster. They just needed to never stop. Was that what they were doing now? Chasing the Kryneth until the right moment came? 3 days after her council presentation, news arrived. The Kryneth had attacked again. A human medical station orbiting a neutral world. 12,000 civilians dead. Doctors, nurses, patients, all killed. Talara immediately went to the council chamber. She needed to see the human response. Ambassador Chen stood at the human podium. Her face was calm, too calm. Behind her, holographic displays showed the destroyed station. Bodies floating in space. Blood frozen in the vacuum. We have documented this incident, Chen said quietly. We have recorded every detail. Every name. Every face. We will remember this, is that all? Zalthor demanded. More documentation? More remembering? Perhaps you should try fighting instead of filing reports. Chen turned to look at him. Talara saw something in the human ambassador's eyes that made her feathers stand on end. It was not anger. It was not hatred. It was something colder, more patient, more certain. We will remember this, Chen repeated. All of it. Every crime. Every life. Every moment. And one day, War Prince, you will understand what it means when humans remember. I look forward to that day, Zalthor mocked. Perhaps in another 30 years you will file an even stronger complaint, Chen smiled. It was a terrible smile. Oh, it will not take 30 years. We are almost done waiting. She left the chamber without another word. Talara tried to follow her, but Ambassador Chen walked too quickly. By the time Talara reached the human diplomatic wing, Chen had disappeared behind secured doors. Talara stood in the corridor, her mind racing. She had studied hundreds of species. She understood violence and peace and everything between. But she had never encountered something like this. The humans were not pacifists. They were not weak. They were something far more dangerous. They were predators who had learned to wait. And somewhere in the galaxy, Talara knew, a countdown was running. The humans had been watching and documenting and preparing for 30 years. How much longer until they decided the accounting was complete? She returned to her office and opened a new file. She titled it, The Paradox of Human Patience, Why Peace May Be Preparation for Perfect War. As she wrote, one thought kept repeating in her mind. The galaxy had misunderstood humanity. They thought humans were peacekeepers. They were wrong. Humans were not keeping peace. They were keeping score. And soon, very soon, they would collect what they were owed. War Prince Zalthor stood before the Krynith High Command and declared victory. Around him, the greatest warriors of his empire listened with approval. The command center was built into an asteroid, hidden and secure. Holographic displays showed the Krynith Empire's territory. It was vast, and it was growing. The humans have proven what we always knew, Zalthor announced. They are the galaxy's favorite victims. They complain but never act. They document but never fight. They are weak. What are your orders? Asked General Vorkon, his scales scarred from 100 battles. We will take 3 more human border colonies, Zalthor decided. Not raid them. Take them, occupy them. Make them part of the Krynith Empire. And when the humans file another complaint, we will take 3 more. The generals roared with approval. This was the Krynith way. The strong conquered. The weak submitted. What if they resist? One younger officer asked. They will not, Zalthor said confidently. They have not resisted for 30 years. They will not start now. The Krynith fleet moved immediately, 200 warships, enough to conquer most civilizations. They arrived at the human border colonies and expected to see evacuation ships fleeing, defensive stations powering down, surrender. Instead, they found the colonies waiting. Strange, Admiral Kresh reported from the flagship. The humans are not evacuating. The stations are fully powered. They are broadcasting a message on all frequencies. What does it say? Zalthor demanded. Just one word. Accounting, Zalthor laughed. More paperwork. They will document their own conquest, proceed with the invasion. But something was wrong. Kresh could feel it. He was an experienced warrior. He had fought in 40 systems. And he knew when prey was acting wrong. Prey ran. Prey hid. Prey did not wait calmly like these humans were waiting. Across the galaxy, Captain Sarah Okonkwo received the transmission she had been waiting 30 years to see. She was in her quarters aboard the human defense ship Persistence. The message came through on her command terminal, encrypted, urgent, final. She opened it. One word appeared on the screen, accounting. Sarah felt her heart rate slow. Not from fear, from focus. She had trained for this moment since she was 17 years old. Her sister had died in Incident 19. A Krynith raid on a civilian transport, 347 people killed, including a 12-year-old girl who wanted to be a doctor. Sarah had not forgotten. None of them had forgotten. She activated ship-wide communications. All crew, this is the captain. Execute accounting protocol. All human ships, all human forces, activate accounting protocol immediately. The command went out across the galaxy. To every human military vessel. To every human station. To every human colony, a message they had all been waiting to receive. Around Krynith space, thousands of human ships began to move. They had been positioned carefully over 30 years. Cargo ships that were actually carrying weapons. Science vessels that mapped every weakness in Kryneth defenses. Colony transports that were full of soldiers. They moved like a net closing, not attacking, not yet. Just moving into position, Ambassador Chen walked into the Galactic Council chamber without requesting permission to speak. The automatic doors opened and she strode to the center stage. Her diplomatic robes were gone. She wore a simple black uniform now. The council representatives looked confused. Chen had always been so polite, so respectful of procedure. "I have an announcement," Chen said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "You are out of order," the council chairman protested. "You have not been recognized." "I do not need recognition," Chen replied. She activated her data display. The enormous holographic screen behind her lit up. "For 30 years, Chen began, humanity has brought complaints to this council. 47 incidents of Kryneth aggression, 89,000 human deaths, trillions of credits in damage, and for 30 years this council has done nothing effective. We issued statements," the chairman said defensively. "We imposed sanctions." "You issued words," Chen corrected. The Kryneth ignored them. "So we stopped expecting the galaxy to deliver justice. We decided to deliver it ourselves." The holographic display changed. It showed every Kryneth crime in detail. Video footage, DNA evidence, communication intercepts, ship identification codes, the names and faces of every human who had died. Talara watched from her pod, her feathers trembling. This was what she had feared. "This is not a declaration of war," Chen announced. "War implies two sides fighting. This is a settlement of accounts. The Kryneth have taken from us. We are taking back what is owed with interest." Zalthor's face appeared on the communication screen. He was still aboard the flagship approaching the human colonies. "You cannot threaten the Kryneth Empire," he snarled. "We are the strongest military power in 3 sectors. Your fleet is small. Your worlds are scattered. You have no chance," Chen smiled. It was not a diplomatic smile anymore. "You think we have been weak," she said. "You think we have been hiding. You think we have been afraid. You are wrong. We have been preparing, and you never noticed because you were too busy laughing at us." She activated another display. This one showed the current position of every human ship in the galaxy. The council chamber fell silent. Human vessels surrounded Kryneth space completely. Thousands of ships. Every trade route blocked. Every supply line cut. Every jump point covered. "This is impossible," Zalthor whispered. "You do not have this many military ships." "We do not," Chen agreed. "We have something better. We have every single human in the galaxy willing to fight. Every cargo captain is now a soldier. Every colonist trained for combat. Every civilian carrying weapons. You killed 89,000 of us. 3 billion of us are ready to make you pay." Admiral Kresh, still approaching the border colonies, suddenly understood. The human colonies were not evacuating because they were not afraid. They were not afraid because they were ready. "All ships, emergency retreat," he ordered. Too late. The human colonies revealed their hidden weapons, defensive platforms that appeared from nowhere, fighters launching from disguised hangar bays, missiles that had been placed in the asteroid field months ago, waiting. The Kryneth fleet found itself in a trap. Not a surprise attack, a prepared ambush. Every move they could make had been predicted. Every escape route blocked. Admiral Kresh had fought in 40 systems. He had never encountered anything like this. The humans were not fighting with passion or rage. They fought with cold precision, like they had already won and were just going through the motions. His flagship took fire from 6 directions at once, weapons he had never seen before, human technology that they had hidden for decades. "They let us think they were weak," Kresh realized in horror. "They wanted us to be confident. They wanted us to attack so they would have justification." His ship's shields failed. Emergency alarms screamed. Around him, the Kryneth fleet was being destroyed with systematic efficiency. "Request terms of surrender," Kresh ordered. "To who?" his communications officer asked. "To the humans, before they kill us all." In the council chamber, Chen continued speaking. "The Kryneth War Prince asked if we would ever fight instead of filing reports. Here is our answer. We file reports so we know exactly what we are fighting for. We document crimes so we can charge the proper price. We wait patiently so that when we act, no one can question our justice." She looked directly at Zalthor's image on the screen. "We gave you 30 years to stop. We gave the galaxy 30 years to stop you. No one did. So we will stop you ourselves." Permanently. Captain Okonkwo watched from her command chair as the battle ended. It had lasted 23 minutes. 197 Krynith ships destroyed or disabled. 3 human vessels damaged. 0 human casualties. It was not even a battle. It was an execution. Ma'am, Admiral Kresh is requesting terms, her communications officer reported. Tell him to surrender unconditionally, Okonkwo replied. Tell him his empire is already dead. It just does not know it yet. She opened a channel to all human forces. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. Move on the secondary targets. By the book. By the numbers. By the accounting. Across the galaxy, human forces advanced. They moved like clockwork. Every objective had been planned years in advance. Every tactic tested in secret simulations. Every contingency prepared for. The Krynith Empire had spent 500 years conquering others. They were about to learn what it felt like to be conquered by a species that fought wars lasting centuries. Talara watched everything from the council chamber. She had tried to warn them. She had seen the signs. But even she had not imagined this. The humans had not just prepared for war. They had prepared for this specific war. Against this specific enemy. They had studied the Krynith for 30 years. They knew everything about them. Their tactics, their technology, their culture, their weaknesses, and the Krynith knew almost nothing about humans. Because humans had been pretending to be harmless while they sharpened their knives. They are not peacekeepers, Talara said quietly. They are patient killers, and we just watched them stop being patient. Ambassador Chen remained on the center stage. She looked at each council representative in turn. Let this be a lesson, she said. Humanity prefers peace. We truly do. But we are not pacifists. We are not weak. We are careful. We are patient. And we are very, very good at ending threats permanently. She deactivated her displays and walked toward the exit. At the doorway, she paused and looked back. The accounting has begun. It will not stop until the balance is restored. We saw the galaxy wanted to know how. How had the humans prepared such a massive military operation without anyone noticing? The answer came from 1,000 small pieces that no one had thought to put together. 10 years ago, a human diplomat named Robert Kim served as an assistant cultural attaché to the Krynith homeworld. He spent his days organizing cultural exchange programs and attending boring government functions. No one paid attention to him. He seemed harmless, friendly, always smiling. What the Krynith did not know was that Robert had a perfect memory. Every military officer he met at diplomatic parties he remembered. Every casual conversation about fleet positions or supply problems he recorded. Every building he visited he mapped. Every computer system he accessed for cultural research he copied. He was not a diplomat. He was a spy, and so was every other human diplomat in Krynith space. 5 years ago, a human cargo ship captain named Elena Rodriguez made her regular supply run to a Krynith military station. She had been making the same run for 8 years. The Krynith guards knew her. They trusted her. They barely checked her cargo anymore. What they did not notice was that her ship's sensors were far more powerful than any cargo vessel needed. Every time she docked, she scanned the station's defensive systems. She mapped the locations of weapons, shields, and power generators. She noted how many soldiers were stationed there and when they changed shifts. She was not just a cargo captain. She was a scout. And so were hundreds of other human traders who traveled through Krynith space. 3 years ago, a human scientist named Dr. Chen Li published a paper about Krynith biology. It won awards. The Krynith High Command even thanked him for his respectful study of their species. They gave him access to genetic databases and medical records to help his research. What they did not realize was that Dr. Chen was not studying Krynith biology out of curiosity. He was looking for weaknesses. What foods made them sick? What temperatures made them uncomfortable? What frequencies hurt their hearing? What chemicals affected their scales? Every piece of information went into human military databases. Every weakness cataloged for future use. 1 year ago, human colonies near Krynith space began expanding rapidly. Thousands of families moved to border worlds that were dangerous and difficult. The Krynith watched with amusement. The humans were moving closer, making themselves easier targets. What the Krynith did not see was who those colonists really were. Not farmers, not miners, retired soldiers, military engineers, weapons specialists. They built homes that were actually fortified bunkers. They planted crops in fields that hid underground armories. They constructed mining equipment that could be converted to artillery in hours. They were not colonists. They were an invasion force disguised as civilians. 6 months ago, human ships began carrying new cargo. Medical supplies mostly, food shipments, construction materials. All legal, all innocent. The Krynith inspectors checked the cargo and found exactly what the manifests claimed. But the medical supplies included components that could be assembled into weapons. The food containers were designed to be turned into armor plating. The construction materials were actually parts for military vehicles, just labeled differently. The humans had been smuggling an entire army past Krynith inspections for months. And no one noticed because the inspectors only looked for complete weapons, not components. Captain Okonkwo remembered the day she learned about the accounting protocol. She had just graduated from the military academy. A general named Marcus Zhao called her into his office. "Captain, you are being assigned to a cargo vessel," he said. "Sir, I trained as a combat pilot." "I know, but you will spend the next decade pretending to be a cargo captain. You will fly trade routes through Krynith space. You will be bored. You will be insulted by customs officers who think you are weak. And you will never complain." "Why, sir?" General Zhao showed her a picture. A burned space station, bodies floating in the wreckage. "Because in 10 years, maybe 20, maybe 30, we are going to make the Krynith pay for every crime they have committed. And when that day comes, we need officers who know everything about Krynith space. Their bases, their routes, their weaknesses. Officers who have spent years being underestimated while they gathered intelligence. You want me to be a spy. I want you to be patient. Can you do that?" Sarah looked at the picture again. She thought about her sister, who had died when Sarah was just a teenager. She thought about all the other humans who had died while their government chose diplomacy over revenge. "Yes, sir, I can be very patient." And she had been. For 15 years, she flew cargo routes. She documented everything. She waited. Now, standing on the bridge of the Persistence, she was finally using all that information. Every battle plan was based on intelligence gathered over decades. Every attack route had been scouted years ago. Every weakness had been identified and catalogued. The Krynith thought they were fighting a war. They were wrong. They were being dismantled by an enemy that already knew everything about them. Ambassador Chen sat in her private quarters and reviewed the timeline. It was important to document everything, even now, especially now. Future historians would want to know how humanity had accomplished this. Year 1 of the accounting. After the 5th Krynith incident, the human government made a decision. Not to fight immediately, but to prepare for a war that would end the Krynith threat forever. Every human in a position of influence was briefed. Diplomats, traders, scientists, colonists. They were all given roles in the long-term plan. Year 5. Intelligence gathering was complete. Humans knew the location of every Krynith military base, every government building, every supply depot. They knew the names of every Krynith officer, their tactics, their personalities, their weaknesses. Year 10. Humans began positioning assets. Ships were rerouted. Colonies were established in strategic locations. Weapons were designed specifically to counter Krynith technology. Year 20. The Krynith attacked a human medical station. 3,000 dead. This was marked as the trigger point. If the Krynith crossed this line, the accounting would begin. But they did not cross it yet. Year 30. The Krynith destroyed another medical station. 12,000 dead. The line was crossed. The accounting began. Chen closed the file. 30 years of preparation for a war that would last only months. That was the human way. Spend decades planning, then execute perfectly. The next battle happened at the Krynith system of Korthak. It was a major military base with 200,000 soldiers. The Krynith believed it was impregnable. 5 layers of defensive shields, weapon platforms everywhere, automated defense systems. Human forces approached. The Krynith admiral in command, a veteran named Talvor, was not worried. "Let them come," he said. "We will destroy them like we destroyed their medical stations." But the humans did not attack the way he expected. They did not charge the defenses. They did not try to break through the shields. Instead, they broadcast a signal, a very specific frequency that Dr. Chen Li had identified 3 years ago, a frequency that interfered with Krynith neural functions. Not enough to kill, just enough to make them nauseous, confused, slow. While the Kryneth soldiers were stumbling and vomiting, human forces cut through their defenses like paper. Every shield generator destroyed, every weapon platform disabled, every command center captured. The battle lasted 40 minutes. 0 human casualties. The Kryneth base fell without firing a single effective shot. Admiral Talvor was captured alive. He was brought before a human military tribunal. He demanded to know how they had defeated his impregnable base. "We studied you," Captain Okonkwo explained simply. "For 30 years. We know what frequencies hurt you, what chemicals confuse you, what tactics you use, what mistakes you make. We know everything about you. That is impossible. You are merchants and diplomats. We are soldiers who pretended to be merchants and diplomats. There is a difference." Talvor understood then. The humans had been preparing this entire time. Every trade mission was espionage. Every diplomatic meeting was intelligence gathering. Every insult and attack they endured without fighting back was just more motivation to be thorough when they finally struck. "You are monsters," he whispered. "No," Okonkwo corrected. "We are humans, and you taught us that the galaxy would not protect us, so we learned to protect ourselves." Across the Kryneth Empire, the same pattern repeated. Human forces appeared at military bases, supply depots, and government centers. They did not just attack. They attacked with perfect knowledge of every defense, every weakness, every vulnerability. The Kryneth tried to fight back, but they were fighting an enemy that had already won. Every counterattack failed because humans had predicted it. Every defensive strategy was useless because humans knew how to bypass it. Every retreat was blocked because humans had already positioned forces to cut off escape routes. It was not war. It was an execution planned for 30 years. Talara watched the reports from her office. She had been right. The humans were not peacekeepers. But even she had underestimated them. They were not just patient killers. They were perfect killers. They did not fight until they were absolutely certain they would win. The war lasted exactly 3 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. Historians would later call it the shortest total military collapse in galactic history. But to those who understood what had really happened, it was not short at all. It had taken 30 years. The fighting was just the final act of a play that had been written long ago. Week 1. Human forces captured or destroyed every major Kryneth military base outside their core systems. The attacks were surgical, precise, perfectly timed. Kryneth commanders found themselves fighting an enemy that knew their battle plans before they made them. General Vorkon led a counterattack at the Drexel system. He had 300 ships. He used a classic Kryneth pincer movement, a tactic that had won 100 battles. The humans were waiting at both pincer points, not reacting to his attack, waiting before he even launched it. Because they had studied Kryneth military doctrine for 30 years. They knew exactly what he would do. Vorkon's fleet was destroyed in 17 minutes. Week 2. Human forces began the blockade. Every Kryneth world was surrounded. No ships in, no ships out. No trade, no supplies, no communication with other systems. The Kryneth tried to break through. They sent their fastest ships, their stealth vessels, even suicide runners. None succeeded. Human forces were positioned perfectly at every possible escape route. War Prince Zalthor, still confident, addressed his people. "This is temporary. The humans cannot maintain a blockade of this size. Their fleet is too small. They will make mistakes and we will exploit them." But the mistakes never came, because the blockade was not maintained by military precision. It was maintained by mathematics. Humans had calculated every possible variable, every supply line, every communication channel, every weakness in the blockade that might exist. And they had closed all of them. Week 4. The first Kryneth worlds began to feel the shortage. Food supplies dwindling, medical supplies running out, fuel reserves depleting. Dalthor ordered rationing. The Kryneth were warriors. They could endure hardship. They would outlast the humans, but the humans were not trying to outlast them. They were not emotional about this. They were methodical. Every world had different supply levels. Humans knew exactly how long each world could survive without resupply, and they waited. Week 6. Civilian protests began on 3 Kryneth worlds. Not warrior worlds, commercial centers. places where civilians were used to comfort. They demanded their government end the war. Zalthor sent troops to suppress the protests. "We do not negotiate with weakness," he declared. Captain Okonkwo watched the reports from her command ship. "He still does not understand," she said to her first officer. "He thinks this is about strength. It is about accounting. We are not fighting to conquer. We are fighting to collect a debt." Week 8. More Kryneth worlds experienced supply shortages. Even military bases were running low on ammunition and fuel. The Kryneth had always relied on rapid conquest and quick victories. They had never prepared for a long siege. The humans had studied this weakness. They knew the Kryneth Empire was built for expansion, not defense. It consumed resources faster than it could produce them. Cut off from trade and conquest, it would collapse on itself. No human soldier had to die in a ground assault. They just had to wait while the Kryneth economy destroyed itself. Week 10. The Kryneth High Command met in emergency session. 17 systems were reporting critical shortages. Civilian unrest was spreading. Several colonies were considering surrender. "We must break through the blockade," General Kresh insisted. He had survived the first battle only to be captured and then released as part of human psychological warfare. The humans wanted him to tell other Kryneth commanders how hopeless resistance was. "The humans will not negotiate," Zalthor said stubbornly. "So we fight." "Fight how?" Kresh demanded. "They know our every tactic. They have surrounded every world. They are not emotional or impulsive. They are patient. They will wait until we collapse. Then we attack their homeworld, Earth. If we threaten their civilians, they will have to negotiate." That is exactly what they want, Kresh realized. They want us to attack Earth so they can justify complete destruction of our species. Everything they have done is legal by Galactic Council standards. Military targets only. Minimal civilian casualties. If we attack Earth, we give them permission to do to us what we did to them. Zalthor said nothing. For the first time, he understood. The humans had not just prepared for military victory. They had prepared for legal, moral, and political victory. Everything they did was justified, documented, defensible. While the Kryneth had built a reputation as brutal conquerors, the humans had built a perfect case for self-defense. Week 12. The Kryneth homeworld itself began experiencing shortages. The most powerful world in the Empire, seat of government, center of military command, and it was running out of food. Zalthor stood in the Imperial Palace and looked at the reports. 37 Kryneth worlds requesting permission to surrender to human forces. 16 worlds already in open rebellion against his government. 5 worlds that had declared independence and were trying to negotiate separate peace treaties. The Empire was falling apart. Not because humans destroyed it. Because humans had applied pressure to every weak point simultaneously and let the structure collapse. "They are geniuses," Zalthor whispered. "They are not fighting a war. They are performing surgery." His advisor, an old warrior named Thax, agreed. "They are removing us from the galaxy the way a surgeon removes a tumor, carefully, precisely, making sure they do not damage anything else. What do? We surrender or we die. Those are our only options." Zalthor thought about fighting to the last. It was the Kryneth way. Warriors did not surrender. But then he remembered something one of the human diplomats had said years ago. Ambassador Chen. She had talked about proportional response and settling accounts. What if the humans only wanted to settle the debt? What if surrender would end this? He sent a message to Captain Okonkwo. "I request terms." The response came back in 5 minutes. "Unconditional surrender of all military forces. You will stand trial for war crimes. Your empire will be dissolved. These are not negotiable terms. Accept or die." Zalthor called an emergency session of the High Command. He showed them the terms. "This is unacceptable," General Vorkon declared. "We fight to the last warrior." "And then what?" Zalthor asked. "The humans will still win, but they will have no reason to show mercy. They will eliminate our entire species, not because they are cruel, because we will have proven we are too dangerous to allow to exist." He looked at each general. "I have watched these humans for 30 years. I thought they were weak. I was wrong. They are terrifying, not because they are violent, because they are patient. They do not act until they are certain of victory, and they are certain now. We cannot win. We can only choose how much our people suffer before we accept reality. The vote was taken. 15 generals voted to surrender. 3 voted to fight. Those 3 were arrested by their own officers. The Krynith Empire surrendered 12 weeks and 3 days after the war began. Captain Okonkwo received the surrender personally. She stood on the bridge of her flagship as War Prince Zalthor's image appeared on the screen. "I surrender," he said. "My empire surrenders. And this. You will submit to our terms," Okonkwo stated. "You will be tried for crimes against humanity. You will answer for every death, every attack, every crime. Do you understand?" "I understand. But answer me one question. Why did you wait so long? You could have destroyed us years ago if you were this prepared." Okonkwo considered not answering, but these communications would be released to the galactic public. The whole galaxy needed to understand. "We waited because we wanted to be certain," she explained. "Certain we were right. Certain we had justification. Certain we could win completely. We do not fight wars to fight. We fight wars to end threats permanently. That requires patience," she paused. "And we wanted you to feel what you made us feel. Helpless, angry, watching our people die while the galaxy did nothing. You felt that these last 12 weeks. We felt it for 30 years. Now you understand. Zalthor's image disappeared. The surrender was complete. Ambassador Chen addressed the Galactic Council one final time before the war ended. She stood at the center of the chamber, tired but satisfied. "The Krynith Empire has surrendered," she announced. "The accounting is complete. We present our terms for the Council's review." The terms appeared on everyone's screens. The Krynith Empire would be reduced to 3 systems under permanent observation. All weapons of war would be destroyed or transferred to neutral. Parties' war crimes trials would be held for all officers who participated in attacks on civilian targets. Reparations would be paid for 30 years. 1 credit for every human life lost. Krynith culture and species would not be destroyed. Only their ability to wage war. "These terms are harsh," the council chairman noted. "They are just," Chen corrected. "We did not ask for genocide. We did not demand revenge beyond what was owed. We balanced the accounts exactly. 89,000 human lives. The Krynith will remember that number for generations." She looked around the chamber. "We gave this council 30 years to stop the Krynith. You did not. So we did it ourselves. Let this be a lesson. Humanity prefers peace. We will endure incredible abuse to maintain it. But we are not pacifists. We are bookkeepers. We remember every debt, and eventually, we collect." Talara watched Chen leave the Chamber 6 months after the war ended. The galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. The Krynith Empire, which had existed for 500 years, was gone. Not destroyed in blood and fire, but dismantled with precision and patience. Talara sat in her office at the Galactic Council, finishing her report. It had taken her months to write. She had interviewed hundreds of people, human soldiers, Krynith survivors, council observers. She had reviewed decades of data. Her report was titled "The Paradox of Human Patience, a Xenopsychological Analysis." The introduction explained, humans are persistence predators. On their homeworld, they evolved to hunt by exhausting their prey. They did not need to be faster or stronger. They only needed to never give up. This evolutionary trait extends to their warfare. They do not fight until they are angry. They fight when they are ready. And they are always eventually ready. Her analysis covered the key aspects of human military psychology. Perfect memory. Humans documented everything. Every crime. Every death. Every detail. Other species forgot over time. Humans never forgot. This made them dangerous because they could hold grudges for generations. Collective identity. When one human was harmed, all humans felt harmed. They called it species solidarity. An attack on a human colony on one side of the galaxy motivated human soldiers on the other side. This unity made them incredibly dangerous when provoked. Long-term planning. Humans thought in terms of decades and centuries. Most species planned for immediate needs. Humans planned for scenarios that might happen 50 years in the future. This patience allowed them to prepare for wars they had not yet declared. Deception. Through patience. Other species viewed patience as weakness. Humans used this misunderstanding as camouflage. They smiled and negotiated while preparing destruction. They appeared weak while becoming strong. Proportional extinction. When humans decided to eliminate a threat, they did it completely. Not with genocide, but with permanent removal of capability. The Kryneth still existed as a species, but they would never threaten anyone again. Talara's conclusion was simple but terrifying. Do not mistake human patience for weakness. They are not peacekeepers. They are patient killers deciding if you are worth the effort. Her report was distributed to every member of the Galactic Council. Within days, it became the most read document in the galaxy. On Earth, in the human capital city of Geneva, a memorial was being built. It was a simple black wall with 89,000 names carved into it. Every human who died in the Kryneth incidents. The memorial was called the Accounting Wall. Ambassador Chen attended the dedication ceremony. She was retiring after 35 years of service. Her final act was to read the first and last names on the wall. Jennifer Martinez, age 7, died in Incident 1 when Kryneth raiders attacked her family's transport ship. The crowd was silent. 20,000 people attending. Millions more watching across human space. Admiral John Okonkwo, age 63, died in Incident 47 at the medical station. His daughter, Captain Sarah Okonkwo, led the human fleet that ended the threat that killed him. Chen stepped back from the microphone. She placed her hand on the wall. We remembered, she said softly. Every name, every life. We did not forget you. The crowd began to chant. Not with joy, not with hatred. With something calmer, more final. We remember. We remember. We remember. That phrase would become humanity's unofficial motto, carved on ships, painted on military bases, whispered before battles. We remember. Captain Sarah Okonkwo stood on the observation deck of her new flagship, the Persistence II. She was now an admiral, the youngest in human history. Her fleet patrolled the border between human space and what remained of Kryneth territory. Her first officer approached. Ma'am, we received a request from a Kryneth civilian transport. They want permission to cross into neutral space. They are fleeing the collapsed empire. Granted, Okonkwo said. Check their ship for weapons, provide food and medical supplies if they need it, and let them go. You are being generous to them. After what they did. We are not at war with the Kryneth people, Okonkwo explained. We were at war with the Kryneth Empire. That empire no longer exists. These are refugees now. We are humans. We defend the weak, even if they used to be our enemies. The officer left to carry out the orders. Okonkwo returned to watching the stars. Her father's name was on the accounting wall. She had spent 15 years preparing to avenge him. And she had succeeded. But vengeance felt different than she expected. Not satisfying. Just necessary. She opened a personal message from Talara, the VES investigator. They had become unlikely friends during the war. Admiral Okonkwo, your species fascinates me. You show mercy to the Kryneth refugees, but you destroyed their empire without hesitation. You are kind and brutal at the same time. How do you reconcile this? Sarah wrote back, we are not contradictory. We are consistent. We protect the innocent and destroy the guilty. We are patient with those who make mistakes and unforgiving to those who make choices. The Kryneth civilians did not choose to attack us. Their government did. We removed the government. Simple. Across the galaxy, other species were reconsidering their relationships with humanity. The Zarn Collective, which had 3 border disputes with human colonies, suddenly offered generous compromises. The Mern Federation, which had been planning to demand more favorable trade terms, decided the current terms were fine. The Vex Swarm, a hive mind that had been testing human defenses with small raids, stopped completely. Everyone had gotten the message. Humans were patient, but patience had limits, and when those limits were reached, humans did not make threats. They made examples. In the council chambers, a new species called the Dreth made their first appearance. They were a warrior culture, proud and aggressive. Their representative, a massive creature covered in armor plates, addressed the council with typical warrior arrogance. We have conquered 15 systems, the Dreth announced. We expect the council to recognize our territorial claims. The council representatives looked uncomfortable. Before the human war, they might have negotiated, compromised, avoided confrontation. But now they looked at Ambassador Chen's replacement. A human diplomat named Ambassador Park was younger than Chen, but he had the same calm demeanor. The same diplomatic smile, and the same cold patience in his eyes. The Council does not recognize conquest by force, Park said politely. We suggest you return the systems to their original inhabitants and apply for membership through proper channels. The Dreth laughed. And if we refuse? Will you file a complaint? Park opened his datapad. Everyone in the chamber tensed. They had all heard about the datapads. About the files marked accounting. If you refuse, Park said calmly, we will document your refusal. We will monitor your actions. We will gather evidence, and if you continue to threaten innocent species, we will do what we did to the Kryneth. We prefer peace, but we are very, very good at war. The silence in the chamber was absolute. The Dreth representative looked around. He saw no support. Every other species was watching him with something like pity. They had all learned the lesson. We will consider your suggestion, the Dreth said carefully. Perhaps we can discuss this more diplomatically. An excellent decision, Park replied, closing his datapad. We are happy to help you negotiate a peaceful resolution. Talara watched from her observation pod. She saw Park's smile. Diplomatic. Friendly. Hiding nothing because it did not need to hide anything. Everyone knew what humans were now. There was no more deception. No more pretending to be harmless. The mask was off, and somehow that made them more terrifying. After the session, Talara met with Park in private. You have changed the galaxy, she told him. Before the Kryneth War, species believed strength meant immediate violence. Now they understand that true strength is patient. We did not want to change the galaxy, Park said. We wanted to be left alone. But the galaxy would not let us live in peace, so we taught the galaxy a lesson. What lesson? That there are different kinds of predators. Some chase you down immediately. They are dangerous but predictable. You can see them coming. You can prepare. But humans, we are persistence predators. We follow you for days, weeks, years, decades. You think you escaped. You relax. You forget we are hunting you. And then when you have completely forgotten us, we finish the hunt. Park smiled. The Kryneth forgot they were being hunted. They thought they had won because we did not fight back immediately. That was their mistake. And the Dreth, you just scared them into compliance and we gave them a choice. Every species deserves a choice. They can live in peace with us, or they can join the Kryneth in history books as examples of what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. Talara left the meeting deep in thought. She had studied hundreds of species. She had analyzed countless civilizations. But humans were unique. They were not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the most advanced. But they were the most patient. And in the long run, patience defeated everything else.